almost kind of robotic. But and the reason I want to mention this is because maybe you can say it with a different energy next time. Make it a true blessing. It gives you an opportunity to bless somebody for something that they just naturally do. You know what I mean?
How much more powerful would the acknowledgement be if it was conscious and not just rote? And I think whether it be saying bless you at a sneeze
Like
or anointing you for an office, it's
Right.
saying I recognize and acknowledge your value. You matter.
That's a taste of Stop the Van, discovering the beauty of blessings in the chaos of life. This week's episode of The Wise Guys, a podcast that unleashes the unthinkable in culture, religion, and everyday life. Mac, the mad monk himself, leads the conversation. He's a visionary outlaw, cosmic questioner, and certified heretic with a holy grudge against the status quo. So, strap in, shatter the norm, and see if you'll let Mac and his guys, the Rev and Coach Stu, take you to a place of thinking differently.
Okay, welcome to The Wise Guys, a podcast where we unleash the unthinkable, see things differently, and shatter the norms to help you expand your worldview. All right, so hi, I'm Mac, the Mad Monk, your host. I like that. We started that. I kind of like that moniker. But with me are my co-conspirators, the Wise Guys. We got Coach Stu, who once pinned the meaning of life in under 2 minutes and still had time for push-ups. Welcome, Stu.
Let's go, people.
All right.
And I was there. I saw it.
You saw it. It was amazing. All right. And then we got the Rev. Imagine Mr. Rogers had a theology degree and a secret tattoo.
Oh, I want to see this.
Yeah, no, we're not going to ask where it is either, okay? These guys, they don't just think outside the box. They recycle it, bless it, and use it as a drum for a revival service in aisle 7 of Target.
I love that.
Welcome, guys.
You are the fearless leader leading the charge. I love
think
this.
You're probably right. Okay.
I love this
Blue Light
description.
Special.
This is great.
All right, Wise Guys, welcome tonight. It's good to have you guys. Good to have you.
Hey, Mac. Hey, Rev. Hey, let me say hello to all you beautiful exotic tales out there.
The exotics.
Hello.
Hey, gang. All right. So I love this Words of the Wise tonight. I guess
it's a good one.
I've heard this before, and I like him. This is a quote by Alan Watts, and if you've never heard of him or you don't know anything about him, Google him, YouTube him, because this guy is a sage.
Everything he says is dripping with wisdom.
I know. He's just listen to him. This guy's incredible. So here it is. Words to the wise. You are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
No obligation, gang. You don't owe it to yourself or to anybody else to be the same in a 5 minute period.
I love it.
Isn't that great?
You just gave me permission to evolve, reinvent myself continuously.
Please do. I want to be born again and again and again and again and again.
We tend to think, the thing I love about this more than anything is the word obligation. He just sort of dispels and debunks the fact that sameness is exactly what I need for this 5 minutes and for the next 5 minutes and for the next 5 minutes. I'm good. I'm comfortable. Everything's great. So, nope, you don't owe it to anybody to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. So think differently.
Do you in the now.
Do you.
Love it. Your identity is not static.
That's it. All right. I love it. So let's see tonight. Here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about blessings. Isn't that cool? That's a really great topic. Right?
You know what I loved in our pre-recording time was the idea that we all want this to be a blessing to somebody who's listening.
Exactly.
That what we do here is about really touching somebody's life in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
I hope that you get that.
Yeah, I hope you guys out there, we've been blessed already just in a pre-show. So I know that as we go through the episode, we'll bless each other and we'll be blessed
Yeah.
in many, many ways. And so that's a great point, right? We want you to feel the same way, we hope. And we are going to talk about this other thing that says, if you are, pay it forward. You know?
Right.
I mean, that's a major part of being blessed. So we're going to get to that.
You're
but I'm just
preaching
giving
my sermon.
I'm just giving you a little, I'm getting a little, what do you call it? A cheat, spoiler. It's a spoiler.
Spoiler.
Foreshadowing.
Spoiler alert.
Foreshadowing. All right. So let's talk about, the main thing we are going to center on, but it's going to go all sorts of different places. It's a book by Matthew Fox. And again, if you've never read Matthew Fox, we encourage that. But he wrote a book called Original Blessing. And there was so many components to it, so much great stuff. But at the core of it, he came in that book and told all of us through that book that it's good. That everything that starts, the original part, whether it's creation, whether it's relationships, whatever it might be, it's an original blessing. And that we're going to jump off from that point into lots of little things.
Does that take us returning to the core, returning to the beginning to remember?
Right, because it's there. Yeah, it's blessed, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a couple of common blessings we might see just to set the stage.
So yeah, this one comes from Numbers in the Bible, and I was so excited that you put this in because, I mean, who wants to read Numbers, man? I mean, that's
Once is enough for me.
I'd rather read Numbers than Leviticus.
I jest. But this is what God said to Moses, right?
Right.
And it's about Aaron. Tell Aaron and his sons, this is how you are to bless the Israelites.
Yep.
Okay, so this is what he says. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace.
It's beautiful. And I mean, that's a beautiful thing.
You know what was interesting when I read this, and this came. So you know me, a big movie buff, right? This was used in Braveheart.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was Uncle Argyle after William Wallace's parents die, and they're at the funeral, and they're speaking in Latin. This is the Bible
it's
verse.
what he said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but Uncle Argyle, he said it out loud. So when I saw this, I had to go put that movie in. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the same
Of course
exact
you did.
blessing.
I love that.
Yeah, from that movie, and that's really cool. And I wanted to bring that up because we can find God everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I find him in movies all the time.
Sure.
And this is obvious because it's a biblical blessing. But I just encourage everybody out there to, if you're looking, you're going to see whatever that means for you.
Yeah, sure. And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about, receiving, asking for, giving blessings. And I think if you look at this prayer, this blessing, it's just a beautiful, organic way, if you look at it, as opposed to saying, we're going to choose that you get blessed particularly over somebody else and that kind of thing. I mean, he's just given a lot of encouragement here, because the background, of course, is that Moses isn't going into the promised land, right? And so now he's going to tell Aaron, who's his brother, right, how to start doing worship, how to start doing, their time, their what do you want to call it? Their service, their ritual. So anyway, so that's a beautiful.
See, I look at this and go, I want to live those words. And some of our listeners who aren't necessarily religious, we could hold that energy for the entire world. May life bless you.
Absolutely.
May the light of the sun shine upon your face and your fields and your goodness. May life be gracious to you. I want to hold that energy, that everywhere I go, no matter where I'm at, I'm holding that for even my enemies, as Jesus might say.
I'd say especially
For your enemies.
Yeah.
May the Lord bless you, my enemy.
Yeah.
That's hard to do, but man, I think it's necessary.
It's universal. Yeah, without a doubt.
And our master teacher Jesus, who we're going to now quote from,
Yes. That's right.
told us to do that. Love your enemies. Bless your enemies.
True.
This is what Jesus has to say. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. And so I take that earlier blessing and say, my job, my responsibility is to pass that blessing on to everybody.
That's exactly right.
To be the love.
Right.
Don't just look for God to love me. Be the love, and then I'll suddenly realize God's love has always been there.
Aha. Could have had a
What a
V8,
concept.
right? Could have had a V8. Yeah.
If we all start from there, I think our enemies become our friends.
I teach often that Jesus said, love your enemies, and I say, you have no enemies. Now, that's a hard concept for the human ego to get. Somebody's against me, but if I can love enough, there's no person that cannot be transformed.
There's
in
no
that
duality,
love.
really, is what you're saying there,
Yeah.
right?
I love that.
I can return to that space that we belong to each other.
Right, right. And this is so organic. It's just oneness. This whole verse speaks to not duality, but oneness. We're all
Right.
together in this, in God.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
Well, Marianne Williamson said this, I quoted it Sunday, that everything is an act of love or a cry for help. And so somebody's behavior is a cry for help, a cry to be loved.
Right.
Because I don't love myself. Let me be the light that shines upon you and shows you that you're worthy, you're valuable. You don't have to behave that way.
absolutely. Well, and that's subtly taught and caught.
Yeah.
You're not sitting somebody down going, check, 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 check. Right?
I've done my 3 blessings for the day. We're done.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. All right. But blessings have been part of religious practices for millennia. Go all the way back to the Egyptians and maybe even further back. I'm guessing. All right. But, if without a doubt, it's ecumenical, right? Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and really all the various indigenous traditions. I mean, you're going to find this kind of thing, this practice, this energy, as the Reb's already said. You're going to find it everywhere.
Let me throw a boomerang here or a curveball.
Uh-oh.
If you go back in history, all these religions go back to the beginning, the inception, the Big Bang. Was the original Big Bang just God blessing itself, himself? Is the beginning of history God just blessing itself? I know, it's a curveball. They look,
I think
No,
I just
thinking.
had a big bang in my mind, in my head. I think that's what happened there. What?
it's a Big Bang or an aneurysm.
What happened?
Well, but all right, now here's what I'm pondering there, Rev. Here's where I go with that. If that's true, then how does God get blessed in all of that? By his creation. Just God is blessed by creating and then relationally, that's not a word, is it? No.
It is now.
Relating to itself.
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful.
And it was good.
And it was good.
Right.
That's exactly right. So we're grounding ourselves in that perspective without a doubt, right?
Can we suspend any ideas and just live with the premise, as you've said, it is good.
Yes.
Whatever it is,
Right.
it is good.
That's it.
At the
Yeah.
core.
Yeah, got to get your head around that a little bit.
That's a
and your
better
heart.
way to live life,
Oh,
in
well,
my opinion. I wish more people would do this and think that way.
well, and
right.
it doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you.
It takes
anything.
strength. It
That's
takes courage. It takes
Right.
determination.
The humility.
To see beyond your behavior and go, you're good at the core.
And you will be a blessing for others by doing this.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely. So, we bless in lots of different ways, but as we were talking in the pre-show, we've already kind of hinted at it right here. Blessings are an energy. Mm-hmm. And they come in so many different ways. I mean, we have our typical ways that we think about blessing. We receive a blessing. Mm-hmm. Somebody gives us one. We see this all the time. And anointing, say, maybe for a particular office, like they might do in, again, the Catholic Church or really almost any Christian denomination, you can be anointed for your office and things like that.
And people may not see what I'm about to say as, or they may not acknowledge this as a blessing. But in the pre-show, we were talking about what do you say when someone sneezes, right? You say bless you, like this is a blessing.
Yeah.
And people unconsciously say it, almost kind of robotic, but if and the reason I want to mention this is because maybe you can say it with a different energy next time. Make it a true blessing. It gives you an opportunity to bless somebody for something that they just naturally do. You know what I mean?
How much more powerful would the acknowledgement be if it was conscious and not just rote? And I think whether it be saying bless you at a sneeze
Like intention,
or anointing
right?
you for an office, it's
Right.
saying I recognize and acknowledge your value. You matter. You're here on earth.
Yeah, you matter.
Acknowledgement
Exactly.
itself is a blessing.
Yes. I'm
So-
with you.
Oh, here I am.
I'm with
We
you.
lost you for a minute.
Yeah, I know. I was gone there for
The
a
Mad
sec.
Monk's back.
I am back. I'm
So
not
that
sure.
was the receiving part. I know I jumped in on that one.
Well,
but
no, that's it. And
Yeah.
again, I think when you're blessed, also think about in the times in your life when you have been blessed actively. Many times, some people will lay their hands on, a lot of times on you, on your head, or it can be general, certainly in a general blessing like we were reading earlier from the Bible. But when you get blessed like that, at least in many practices, you bow, you kneel. I mean,
Right.
and it's not in subservience to somebody. It's just out of humility.
In reverence, yeah.
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 And so I think it's beautiful. Again, it teaches you a little bit about dying a little bit to that egoic self that you have. Receive it, but receive it humbly and receive it thankfully.
You know, I had my wife teach me at one point. People would give me a compliment about a song I'd done or something I'd read or said. And I'd say, oh, well, I messed up. I screwed up that part there, and that part wasn't good enough. And she says, you're not receiving the blessing. Thank you is a complete sentence. That's the humility. You may in your head know you didn't do it as well as you could have, but then I'm denying the blessing for somebody else, acknowledging me. That she says, you're like slapping them in the face. So this humility, this ability to
Yeah.
receive, to humble myself, whether it be kneeling or just saying thank you without any argument, is a reciprocal blessing.
That's such a great point.
Wow.
We didn't have that in the notes, but you bring that up that just says, don't deny others the joy. Because so often we want to make it all about ourselves.
Right.
You know, did I get a blessing? What's it mean for me? As opposed to allowing others to have the joy. And you just receive it humbly and let them give of themselves. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I
Yeah.
love
That's
that.
giving them a gift in return.
That
Right.
sometimes
Isn't that cool?
that's one of these
That's great.
moments in life that could be uncomfortable for people. Like some people are uncomfortable receiving
are.
compliments.
You're right.
And so
Yeah.
this is good encouragement to
Right.
start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Well, and
Heard that before.
you're blocking your own blessing. The blessing's always there, but you're not receiving it.
Right.
Because
Maybe it'd
something
be
in your
easier
ego-
if you think about how it's a blessing on the person giving it to you, like what you were
Exactly.
describing it.
Yeah.
Maybe that would make it easier if you have a hard time
Right.
accepting it, right?
You're
out there.
giving them a gift by
Yeah.
them giving
So
you a gift.
you guys give me a blessing right now. I think the two of you guys are pretty amazing. There, thank you for letting me have my blessing to say that.
There it is. We'll receive that with my head bowed and receive it joyfully. All right, so we receive a blessing. That's kind of one
Right.
sort of way that blessings happen.
Yeah.
Then we have these things by petition. We'll ask for a blessing. And you know, a lot of times, especially throughout history, when people trying to figure out the cosmos, they were trying to figure out why it rained, why it didn't, the sun, the waves, the moon, all of that stuff.
Right.
And there was this petition sort of to have gained the favor of the gods.
Yeah.
That you would provide you would almost sacrifice an animal, as a blessing, so that you could receive a blessing back. And that's the way we've operated as a culture in many different ways forever, right? And I think we get to the place where we say thank you. Right? The gratitude comes in here again. The thank you comes in here. And again, whether or not we're going to talk about this a little bit more as we go down, but whether or not you believe that you can ask God, petition God for something, and depending upon some circumstance or however that works, that you receive it back in a sort of circular, I call it the gumball God, right? The gumball machine. You put the quarter in and you turn the handle and crank and you get the gumball.
But is asking a necessary component to receiving a blessing? So thank you, not saying thank you and shutting up is not receiving it. But do I need to ask? Do I have to understand my own value and own worth to go, I deserve some good in my life. I think that's an important thing. I've got to acknowledge that I'm worthy and valuable myself, and that means asking, hey, could you do me a favor? Hey, could you help me out? That's receiving a blessing.
So as it relates to God, I've battled with this thought. I believe God knows what I'm about to ask. He knows what I need, things like that. So when I think about it, why would I even say it out loud, say the words, if he already knows? So here's where I landed the plane on this one. I'm in a relationship with God. So I have to interact with God to be in a relationship. Same thing with you guys. I can't just sit here and we can't yet in our life read each other's minds. That might be scary if that
Welcome
happens.
to the Psychic Podcast.
Yeah, right. But I mean, if you have, when you're in a relationship, you have a conversation. So that's how I see that now. Okay, yeah, I know God. He knows what I'm going to say, but I'm interacting with God. Does that make sense? Like what?
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
And my view of this is a little different, and I think we find agreement here. It's already there.
Yeah.
The blessing you would ask for already exists. It's just your job to wake up to it.
Yes.
But you have to have a relationship with it in order to receive it. You have to be aware, looking, listening, talking in order to receive that gift.
Speak it into existence, right?
Yeah, and this is an interesting concept that Rev was just talking about, because again, we talked about it in the pre-show. The favor, the blessing of the deity, God, the one power, the cosmos, I mean, however you're framing it, right? The blessing is already there, and it's been given with no qualifications, with no hoops you got to jump through. There's no things that you have to do to earn it or to get it or to go find it. It's just a matter of waking up.
But there is still that asking of, like, say I need to change a tire on my car and I'm having some trouble. I need some help. I have to be willing to call one of you guys and ask, hey, could you give me a hand? I need a hand here. Otherwise, you don't know.
Well, that's true.
You know, I'm all about rubber meets the road. Let's take it out of the realm of God and let's put it in God doing business as all creation. As friendship, in a relationship, I'm going to ask you, could you help me get my tire changed?
The rubber meeting the road. Maybe
but I don't deserve that. The Mac is so busy, I don't deserve it. I'll just sit on the side of the road and pout. A lot of people are missing their blessing because they don't just ask.
Yes. And I think I'd also determine that if you give a gift, I got a gift in my hand, right? And I'm going to offer it to Stu. Now, you have a choice.
Right, I have to accept it.
To accept it in order to receive the blessing or the goodness or whatever that is that I got in my hand. Right. So understand that it's subtle, and at the same time, these are universal truths and laws that just work.
Exactly. On that note, I have a flat tire in the driveway if you could help me out.
Well, that means the rubber's not meeting the road.
No.
So we've already kind of talked about the last category that we're going to talk about, conferring, that there's a blessing conferred, that a blessing's given. And we talked about how we do it to each other.
Right.
It can be done corporately. We did already talk about how Abraham was blessed to be a blessing.
To others.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Responsibility.
Okay? And I want a little side note to that story, if you haven't really realized this before. But the whole story of Abram, and before he became Abraham, he was listening to God, but this was kind of a brand new thing. He didn't really, it's not like he grew up knowing God, all right? It wasn't that way.
Right.
But then God told Abram to move, to go somewhere else from where he was, from Haran. And where did he tell him to go? He told him to go to the area that we know today, as Israel, right? That part of the world, and understand the strategicness of God at that point. That was a major trade route in the world. So there were people coming and going all through that area. So God basically said, I'm going to send you to where the people are. Now, your job is to bless them. I think that's a really cool part of that.
Yeah.
And think about it from ourselves. Do we put ourselves in different environments, or do we run around in our little bubble talking to the same old people in the same old way? And I don't mean you can't bless those people. I mean, certainly you can. To really pay it forward outside of your comfort zone, you can bless, and you can send that energy to others if you just...
And that movement is not always external. Sometimes it's an internal movement. I got to change my thinking in order to receive the blessing and be a blessing.
Yeah. Oh, change your thinking. Oh, I think we talk about that all the time.
Oh,
don't
yeah.
we? All right. So, look, that was great. I think there's so many cool little nuggets in there. We want to encourage you in blessings and gave you a little bit of framework. We're going to take a real quick stop here, and we're just going to take a break, and then we're going to be right back. So hang with us.
Alrighty.
Like what you hear so far? Join us in the Rogue Nation by going to our website, gorogue.life, where you will find links to our social media and podcast channels and a way to subscribe to all our happenings. We encourage you to become a member of our cafe, where you can interact with us and fellow roguers and keep the conversation going. Please share us and like us. Now, let's get back to our Wise Guys.
All right, welcome back to the Wise Guys, where we and I say me, the Mad Monk, and my co.
Oui.
For French.
We're
Mon
gonna
ami.
have a French. No, I can't go there. I don't know. I'll get confused.
Bonjour.
But I got my co-conspirators here, my Wise Guys. So we had a great first half. Really, lots of really cool, I think, nuggets in that, talking about blessing. Maybe we gave you some new ideas over how to look at blessings. We hope we did. But now we're going to sort of circle back to Matthew Fox. As I mentioned that in the very beginning, he wrote the book called Original Blessing. And his premise, let's just start, first of all, from the Bible with a creation story. And God saw, this comes from Genesis, God saw all that he had made, and it was
Very good.
very good.
Very good.
Okay. Now, there's a little nuance there if you haven't ever noticed it. God, as he made the other 5 days, right? Six, by that time it's the
was
sixth
good.
day.
Yeah.
Okay. It was good.
It was good. Right.
It was good. He made humans. He made the earth. He made the sun, and he made the sun. It was good. It was good. But he looked around at the whole big picture and he said, "It's very good."
Right.
All right. So again, that's a blessing. God looked at it. This gets back to, I think, what the Rev was saying in the first half about the Big Bang, and was it just an automatic sort of blessing that God just bestowed or received or was? I guess, right? You like to use those terms.
I like
God just was.
It's isness.
He is.
Isness.
All right, that's a new
He's
word.
God is in the business of isness.
Isness. Okay, we'll go with that.
Hey, wait, there's the meme for this episode.
The isness. Oh, so anyway, we start out with that original blessing, and then we encompass in that what? The earth,
Yeah.
right? God
Yeah.
blessed the earth and said it was good. God blessed all the animals.
Right.
God blessed all the people. He blessed the cosmos and the heavens. All of it, as it was created, was good, and it worked with the other things. I mean, it was all holistic. It was all organic, right? Isn't it
I'm
beautiful?
flashing the old Blind Boys of Alabama song. God said it, and that's good enough for me. God said it was good.
Yeah.
God said you were good. I don't know if I see it yet, but God said it, so I'm going to believe it.
I'm leaning into it. I'm leaning into it. So we've got now. Here's a misconception I think that happens a lot in the West. There is a distinction when we start to talk about anything religious, quite frankly, but especially in Christianity. For those of you that don't realize this, there's a Western Christianity that came out of Rome and all through history, and then there was an Eastern Orthodox Christianity that moved from Constantinople, and they're common in ways, but they're definitely different in their theology as well. So
Somewhere I read there's 30,000 different sects of Christianity.
yeah, so we all get a vote. Yeah, oh my gosh, right? And think about that for just a second, and the ramifications that it have.
Yep.
But the earth, a lot of times, especially in the West, and this is from Bible verses that you can interpret one way or another, but we don't tend to look at it necessarily, nature and the earth as a blessing and beautiful and good. I mean, we can go out and take a hike. We can go out and do this stuff. We can see a sunset. We can see a sunrise. We've exploited a lot, and I just say we. I mean, I'm not pointing a finger at anybody. I'm just saying we have certainly, in some ways, squandered that blessing. I guess, can I use that term?
I'm going to reflect on my son, Adam. As a kid, as a 6-year-old, he would say, stop the van. And we'd stop thinking something was wrong. And he'd say, look at that moon. He was filled with he was blessed by the moon, and he wanted to share the blessing with the whole van. And here we were panicked. And it was just, let's just take a moment to reflect on how beautiful that moon is.
I love that, man. There's the blessed by the moon, and to be a blessing to the rest of the people.
And tell everybody else, you're missing this. Stop the van, stop the life, stop the noise and the chaos. Look. Wow.
Yes. And Stu's told stories about living, in Costa Rica and the different frame of mind that you had going there versus living life here in the States, and a new appreciation for everything from a nature standpoint, right? I mean, you live that. Isn't that cool?
Oh, yeah.
So the earth. Then people. How about people that are blessed? And let's go to Genesis. And then God said, let us make man, women, people, right?
Humanity.
Right.
Mankind or people kind. Let us make them in our image after our likeness. And again, we've all heard those passages. If you're Christian, you've heard that before, right? But think about that now from a blessing standpoint, not just a creation standpoint. Oh, God made me. Okay, I get that.
Right.
Where's the blessing that's part of that?
Yeah,
right?
our
Where does
image
that
and
work?
our likeness. That's the blessing to me.
When I say, I carry it a step further, it's the very substance of God.
Yeah.
Out of itself. It had a self-contemplative thought, and then all creation sprang.
Right. You can't separate it. Is, and it will always be, and it's not up for discussion per se. It's not, did you get it, didn't you get it, all that kind of stuff, or how do you get it?
Everybody has it.
That's right.
Except we have forgotten. That's the fall from grace. Right. I went asleep, and I forgot that I was made out of that good stuff.
Right. Yeah. And once you start to raise your consciousness higher and higher, you begin to embrace that and understand it and accept it even more and more and more, which I think is our mission, some of our mission for sure.
Well, and the real challenge is to begin to, it's not a private good. I have to accept that about everybody else.
True. Ooh.
They're made up of that same good stuff.
Yes.
I'm not going there then.
Let me give you my list of exceptions.
I don't think so. So, all right, we've talked about this. It exists for eternity. So we do practice blessings today. I mean, in the culture and, as we go about it. And you probably see this more. I'm just going to make a blanket statement. Anyway, you probably see this more from a Christian standpoint in the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church's ritual is steeped in these blessings, whether it's reading the scripture that are pointing to that, whether it's the ordaining, whether it's blessing. I'll give you a story. I had my first child, my daughter, and we were living with my grandparents at that time. But my parents were really close with one of the priests over at the Catholic church that we went to. So he came over to visit and, this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I got my daughter in my arms, right? And he just, he had a little baby and all that. And then my mother looks at me. You can't really see this if you're not unless you're watching me on YouTube. But my mother looks at me and she goes, she kind of nods her head and leans it over there toward the priest. And basically what she was telling me is, go take Lauren over there to let him bless her.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, I was like clueless. I wasn't paying any attention. So I went over there and he did that, which was beautiful. I mean, and here's what you were talking about. Do you think he got joy out of doing that?
Oh, for sure.
Of course.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Okay. It wasn't just one way. I mean, It was so beautiful.
Every baby blessing I've ever done, every christening I've ever done, blessed me as much as it blessed the family.
Amen to that, man.
I cried just thinking about it.
No doubt. So, you can see them all over the place in ritual in the Catholic Church for sure. But we also can look at when we start to move off a little bit from what we do today and some of this other kind of stuff. There are alternate ways and perspectives to look at blessings as well. And we've mentioned some of them here, but we're going to kind of maybe herd the cats together, circle the wagons a little bit, maybe be a little more specific about it as we end up. So again, we're going to talk original blessing, right? That's, again, we're coming from Matthew Fox, original blessing. And he would say as an alternate way to look at the blessing, sometimes, especially starting with St. Augustine, who was alive during the 4th century, he came up with a theology in the Christian church that it was about fall and redemption. It was about the fact that we're fallen and we need to be redeemed, as opposed to just accepting the original blessing that just was there and it can't be taken away or you can't earn it. And so that's a theological thing that some of you out there, especially if you've grown up in any kind of Christian church per se, might be a little bit, that might be a little, wait a minute here now. What are we doing here with some of my, religion and my faith? But just, I don't know. You got to understand where that came from. Jesus really didn't talk about that. Again, the idea of original sin wasn't around until the 4th century. Hello. You might not understand that. So we're talking, what kind of original blessing are we talking about? What could that be? It's inherent, right? It's eternal. It's truth. It just is. And it applies to all people. We've already said that, right? We're just kind of.
Well, let's go back. You gave your child to the priest.
Yeah.
That priest saw the goodness. God affirmed it is good. I see it and it's good. And God, that's the only view God has of any of us. God does not see the mistake, the sin. God is not punishing you because you screwed up. You're being punished by your sin, not for it.
Yeah.
So God only has the view of the coach in his magnificence and his light and his goodness, and you, Mac, in your goodness, in your purity, in your magnificence. That's all God sees, and that blessing's there. Where we get into trouble is we don't see it ourselves.
Right.
I don't see it in you. Then I'm the one who's going to be suffering.
Right. Yeah.
That is so vitally important, that at the core and at the root, people are basically good, and they've just forgotten.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Let's etch that down somewhere, everybody.
So rather than needing to be fixed, and this might offend some people, I apologize if it does, rather than needing to be saved, you just need to wake up.
Just need to remember.
Jesus saves us from sleepwalking.
Right. Just remember.
You just need to remember.
Remember. I forgot who I was.
Right. Yeah, these are theologically, these can kind of go a little bit against what you might commonly or been told. But understand, what did I title this section about? There are some alternate perspectives.
Right.
That, again, we talk about this all the time about changing your mind. Think about it. Frame all of this that we've been talking about. Frame it within God's character.
Mm-hmm.
The early church had a thing called the rule of love. And everything they did, they were deciding about Jesus. They were deciding about each other. They were deciding about when to sit, when to stand, what to eat. All that because they drug, Judaism from their past, and they basically came up with this very, very simple filter, the grid that they ran everything through. Does that speak to the loving character of God? Yes or no? And if the answer was no, they said, "Okay, we're on the wrong path. Mm-hmm. We gotta change our focus."
Right.
And I think when you start to ponder maybe some of this stuff we're talking about, and you can read about it. We're not making this stuff up. Think for yourself. If God's love and God's going to bless you, and God is a blessing, then how do you grid your faith, your religion, the way you look at God, the way you look at people? I think it's beautiful.
Here's how I kind of see this. It's not that we don't sin, since we're using that word, right? These things happen, and we do that. Sure. But I am, and this took me a lot of years to be able to say what I'm about to say, but I am not defined by my sin. Right. I am not my sin. I am a blessing, right?
Yes.
And so it's not that it doesn't happen, but it doesn't define who I am. And I would say that's true about anything that happens in your life, anything that's happened maybe to you in your life.
Right.
You are not that. You are not defined by that. You are a blessing. And again, to the Rev's point, people have forgotten this,
Right.
especially if they've had bad experiences in their lives. They have forgotten it. And we encourage you to remember. Figure out a way to remember this.
The hard part of this equation, and it's true, know it for yourself. I have to know it for you too, that you've forgotten. I want to help you remember. That's the blessing. I know who you are. I don't know who you're pretending to be, but I know who you are. And I will not give up my ability to see that love in you.
Well, yeah, that's so beautiful because it's true. I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to say it.
You can feel the truth. When you do that, when you get to that place, you can feel. I feel connected to God itself.
Right.
So, Mac and Rev, somebody out there needs to hear this.
Yep.
All right. They need to hear this. You are a blessing.
Thank you. Right.
Thank you for
being a
existing.
blessing.
Thank you for being you. Thank you for showing up the way you show up on earth.
Right. Well, that's, if you remember nothing else from what we're talking about on this episode, take that to heart. And there's lots of other things about blessings. You know, they can promote, they can push you, they can open up awe, wonder, and a greater sense of gratitude. Sometimes in our religious practice, it becomes rote. It just becomes of what we're doing. And we don't see the beauty. We don't see the magnificence, right? We just see what we've always seen, and we put the blinders on, and we move through it.
Stop the van.
Yeah.
Look at the moon.
I love that. Yeah. And this is ancient stuff, gang. This is not something that the church or any religion just made up last week, all right? These are ancient practices that are beautiful. I mean, let's bring forward, let's bring to us what's beautiful that we want to carry forward. And then as we move into the future, we're going to realize and we're going to accept and cultivate greater and deeper stuff. I mean, that's the path we're all on.
Yeah.
So that's been beautiful. That's been beautiful. So we do want to thank you guys. Man, oh man, this has just been, let me just say this. I've been blessed by our conversation. So thank you both.
Well, you mad monk,
thank
you've been
you.
a blessing too.
That's right.
I'm a mad monk. If you didn't, I haven't put out any video from last week yet, but you got to see me in character. Okay, that was pretty cool.
And you're a blessing too when you have life in a headlock and still have time to push up.
Pinning it. You got to pin it. All right. So we're going to leave you guys with a little bit of a blessing right now.
Okay.
Right. So here we go. May the road rise up to meet you.
May the wind be always at your back.
And may the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rains fall soft upon your fields, until we meet again.
May God hold you in the palm of his hand.
All right. We love all you guys. Thanks so much for listening. Catch us next week and go out and be a blessing to all others. That's our charge to you. So thanks, guys. We appreciate you listening. We'll see you next week.